The gallery was tucked away on a quiet street in Los Angeles, its modest exterior giving no hint of the energy inside. The small space was buzzing with anticipation as artists hung their final pieces and adjusted lighting, hoping their work would leave an impression on the eclectic mix of tech moguls, entrepreneurs, and art enthusiasts who were invited. This wasn't the kind of high-profile gala that made headlines. It was a more intimate event, aimed at showcasing emerging talent, and its charm lay in its authenticity. Liam stood near his corner display, nervously tweaking the positioning of his paintings for the 10th time. At 26, he had poured everything he had into this exhibition. His abstract work explored the connection between humanity and technology, a theme close to his heart. But it had often been dismissed as too niche or overly conceptual. Tonight, he hoped, would be different. This was his chance to find someone who could see the story behind the brushstrokes, someone who might believe in his vision as much as he did. The paintings in front of him glowed under the soft light, their intricate patterns of circuits and neural networks blending with human silhouettes. The centerpiece, a piece he called Human Circuitry, was his favorite, an arresting image of a human heart connected to glowing wires that pulsed outward like veins. Yet, as the minutes ticked by, Liam couldn't shake the nagging voice in his head. What if no one gets it? What if they just walk by like always? As he stepped back to survey his setup, a clamor near the entrance caught his attention. People were whispering excitedly, their heads turning toward a man in a casual blazer and jeans who had just entered the gallery. Liam squinted, his heart skipping a beat. It couldn't be, but it was. Elon Musk, flanked by a couple of friends, had walked in, his presence instantly commanding the room without effort. Liam froze, a mixture of awe and disbelief washing over him. What was someone like Elon doing at a place like this? Determined to focus on his work, Liam turned back to his display and reached for his coffee cup perched precariously on a stool beside him. That's when it happened. His foot caught the edge of the stool, sending the cup tumbling forward. The dark liquid arced through the air, splashing directly onto the sleeve of the man standing behind him. Horrified, Liam turned to see Elon Musk, now staring at his stained blazer. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," Liam stammered, his face flushing crimson. He grabbed a napkin from his pocket, fumbling to offer it. "I wasn't looking. I didn't mean—" Elon looked down at his sleeve, then back at Liam, an amused smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. "It's just coffee," he said casually, waving off the napkin. "No harm done." Still mortified, Liam gestured awkwardly toward his paintings. I can't believe this. I'm so sorry. Can I maybe tell you about these to make up for it?" Elon raised an eyebrow, his curiosity piqued. "Sure," he said, stepping closer to the display. "What do we have here?" Encouraged but still jittery, Liam launched into an explanation of his work, describing how he used abstract patterns to explore the intersection of human emotion and technology. As he spoke, Elon's expression shifted from polite interest to genuine intrigue. His gaze lingered on human circuitry, and he nodded thoughtfully. "This one," Elon said, pointing to the centerpiece. "It's striking. What inspired it?" Liam hesitated, surprised by the question. "I guess it's about how technology connects us, but it also isolates us. It's like we're wired into something bigger, but we're still searching for meaning." Elon nodded again, a faint smile on his face. "Interesting perspective. I like it." Before Liam could process what was happening, one of Elon's friends called him away, and just like that, he was gone. Liam stared after him, unsure if he had just blown an opportunity or stumbled into something life-changing. As Liam stood motionless by his display, replaying the brief interaction with Elon Musk, a storm of emotion swirled within him. His heart pounded with a mix of regret and hope. He had managed to capture Elon's attention, even eliciting a compliment about his work. But had he missed a chance to say more? The question lingered as he turned back to his paintings, trying to steady himself. The weight of this evening pressed heavily on his shoulders, a culmination of years of struggle and sacrifice that had led him to this moment. Liam had always been drawn to art, even as a boy growing up in a small Midwestern town. While other kids played sports or tinkered with gadgets, Liam spent hours sketching intricate patterns and reimagining the world around him. But life in a place where practicality was valued over creativity hadn't been easy for a dreamer like him. His parents, well-meaning but deeply rooted in traditional values, had never understood his passion. They saw art as a hobby at best, not a career. "You need to think about your future, Liam," his father would often say, his voice heavy with disappointment. "Art doesn't pay the bills. Why not go into engineering like your uncle? You've always been good at math." But Liam wasn't interested in numbers or formulas. He wanted to paint, to create something that made people feel the way he did when he looked at the vibrant works of masters like Van Gogh or the futuristic visions of modern digital artists. Against his parents' wishes, he left for the city at 18, taking with him little more than a suitcase, a small savings account, and a portfolio of his earliest works. The city had been a harsh teacher. Rejections piled up as gallery owners politely, and sometimes not so politely, dismissed his art. His unique style, blending abstract shapes with themes of technology, was often deemed too niche or ahead of its time. Liam scraped by with part-time jobs, bartending, delivering groceries, even painting murals on the sides of buildings. Each rejection stung, but he refused to give up, channeling his frustration into his canvases. For Liam, painting wasn't just a creative outlet, it was his lifeline. When he felt crushed under the weight of failure, his brushes brought him solace. His art became a reflection of his inner struggles and hopes, his own way of making sense of a world that seemed indifferent to him. Human Circuitry, his centerpiece at the exhibition, was born out of those long nights of doubt and determination, a visual representation of the delicate balance between connection and isolation in an increasingly technological age. But his perseverance came at a cost. The past year had been especially difficult, with mounting rent payments and dwindling savings. This gallery event was his last shot. He had poured everything he had into securing a spot, spending what little money remained to prepare his pieces and rent the small display space. He had even skipped meals some days, telling himself it was worth it if it meant his work could finally be seen by the right person. Now, as he wiped the last drops of spilled coffee from the floor, Liam couldn't help but wonder if that right person had just walked out the door. He had been so nervous, so consumed by the fear of embarrassing himself further, that he hadn't shared the deeper meaning behind his paintings. What if Elon Musk, one of the most influential figures in technology and innovation, could have been the key to unlocking his dream? The uncertainty gnawed at him as he packed up for the evening. He replayed Elon's words in his mind. "Interesting perspective. I like it." Was that just a polite comment, or did it mean something more? As the lights dimmed in the gallery and the other artists began to leave, Liam stared at Human Circuitry one last time, his hands trembling slightly. If this was his final opportunity, had he done enough, or had he let it slip through his fingers? Elon left the gallery that evening with a mind more occupied than usual. His schedule was packed with meetings, deadlines, and technical challenges, but his thoughts kept drifting back to the painting he had seen, Human Circuitry. There was something about it, the way it seemed to capture the paradox of modern life, connected yet isolated, driven by technology yet yearning for human connection. It wasn't just art to him. It felt like a profound commentary on the very world he was working to build. As he rode back home, his thoughts deepened. The artist, Liam, had been nervous and awkward but genuine. His passion had been evident in every word he'd spoken, even if his self-doubt made him hesitant to say more. Elon couldn't shake the feeling that Liam's work deserved more attention, more recognition. It wasn't just the painting itself that intrigued him. It was the perspective behind it. For a man like Elon, who thrived on innovation and pushing boundaries, Liam's art felt like an extension of his own ideals. Later that night, in the quiet of his study, Elon decided to learn more. He opened his laptop and typed "Liam Artist Los Angeles" into the search bar, hoping for a website, a portfolio, or even an Instagram page. What he found was nothing. The results were sparse, consisting of a few low-quality photos from previous exhibitions and a brief mention in a local blog. It was clear Liam had almost no online presence, an anomaly in a world where self-promotion was practically a survival skill. Frustration flickered across Elon's face as he closed the browser. He was used to finding everything he needed with a few keystrokes, but Liam was proving to be elusive. It only made him more curious. He picked up his phone and called one of his assistants, instructing them to contact the gallery and request Liam's information. He knew it was an unusual request, but Elon had always trusted his instincts, and something about this artist felt important. Meanwhile, Liam sat alone in his tiny apartment, surrounded by his unfinished canvases. The glow of a single lamp cast long shadows across the room, mirroring the heaviness in his chest. The gallery event had been another disappointment. He hadn't sold a single painting, and despite his brief interaction with Elon Musk, he felt certain nothing would come of it. He thought back to the moment Elon had complimented his work. For a fleeting second, he had felt validated, as though his art had finally reached someone who understood it. But reality had quickly settled in. Elon had left the gallery, and Liam was back to square one, still struggling to make ends meet and questioning whether his dream was worth pursuing. As he sat there, Liam opened his sketchbook, flipping through pages of unfinished ideas and concepts. His fingers traced the outlines of a design that had been inspired by human circuitry, but his heart wasn't in it. The weight of failure hung over him, and the fear of continuing down an uncertain path gnawed at his resolve. He considered calling his parents, even though he knew what they would say. Maybe it's time to come home, Liam. Maybe art isn't the right path. The thought made his stomach turn, but the alternative, another year of rejection and financial strain, felt equally unbearable. He sighed and closed the sketchbook, leaving it on the cluttered table as he prepared for bed. Unbeknownst to him, his name was already being discussed in a very different setting. The gallery owner, surprised but eager to please, had just received a call from Tesla headquarters, asking for Liam's contact information. The request was unusual enough to spark a conversation among the staff, but they complied, forwarding the details as requested. Back in his study, Elon leaned back in his chair, his gaze fixed on the email he had just received. He stared at Liam's phone number for a moment, debating whether to call. It wasn't often that he let personal curiosity guide his decisions, but something about this artist, and that painting, demanded his attention. Finally, he picked up his phone, dialing the number as a faint smile crossed his face. A few days later, Liam sat in his cramped apartment, staring blankly at the stack of unpaid bills on his kitchen table. He had tried to keep himself busy, working on new sketches and half-heartedly searching for other galleries that might consider his work. But the sting of another failed exhibition still lingered. His phone buzzed beside him, breaking his train of thought. He glanced at the unknown number on the screen, debating whether to answer. "Hello?" he said cautiously. "Hi, is this Liam?" a polished voice on the other end asked. "I'm calling on behalf of Elon Musk. He recently attended the gallery where your work was displayed, and he's expressed interest in purchasing one of your paintings. Human circuitry, to be specific." Liam froze. His mind raced as he tried to process the words. Elon Musk? Human circuitry? It couldn't be real. A sharp laugh escaped his lips before he could stop it. "Is this some kind of joke?" he asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. The assistant didn't miss a beat. "I assure you, Mr. Musk is serious. He was deeply moved by your work and would like to meet with you to discuss the purchase. He's invited you to Tesla headquarters tomorrow afternoon. Transportation can be arranged if needed." Liam's mouth went dry. The room seemed to spin as he clutched the phone tighter. I can get there," he stammered, barely able to believe the conversation was happening. "But why does he want to meet with me? Can't he just buy it through the gallery?" "I think Mr. Musk will explain everything better in person," the assistant replied, her tone professional but warm. "I'll email you the details. We'll see you tomorrow." The call ended before Liam could ask anything else. He stared at his phone, then at the painting propped against the wall, its intricate details now taking on a new significance. Was this really happening? Or was he setting himself up for another disappointment? Despite his doubts, a flicker of hope ignited within him. The next afternoon, Liam arrived at Tesla's headquarters, his nerves frayed. The sprawling campus looked like something out of a science fiction film, its sleek architecture and buzzing energy completely unlike anything he'd ever experienced. As he walked toward the entrance, he couldn't help but feel like an imposter. His scuffed shoes and thrifted blazer stood out among the polished professionals streaming in and out of the building. A friendly receptionist greeted him and escorted him to a conference room. The walls were lined with futuristic displays showcasing Tesla's innovations, but Liam barely noticed. His heart raced as he waited, his fingers fidgeting with the edge of his notebook. When the door finally opened, Elon Musk walked in, exuding the same casual confidence he had at the gallery. "Liam," he said with a smile, extending a hand. "Thanks for coming. I've been looking forward to this." Liam shook his hand, his own trembling slightly. "Thank you for noticing my work," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Elon gestured for him to sit. Human circuitry caught my attention immediately. It's rare to see art that captures the essence of where we're headed. This delicate balance between humanity and technology. Liam blinked, stunned by the observation. "That's exactly what I was trying to convey," he said, his voice gaining strength. "I wanted to show how technology connects us, but also how it changes us in ways we don't always understand." Elon nodded thoughtfully. "You've captured something important. Art has a way of reaching people that technology alone can't. That's why I wanted to meet you. I think your perspective has potential far beyond this one painting." Liam's breath caught. "What do you mean?" Elon leaned back, his expression contemplative. "Let's just say I have some ideas. But for now, let's start with human circuitry. It deserves to be seen on a bigger stage." Liam left the meeting both exhilarated and mystified, the possibilities spinning in his mind like a whirlwind. Liam returned to his apartment that evening with a mix of exhilaration and anxiety. The meeting with Elon had gone far better than he could have imagined. Not only had Elon praised human circuitry and agreed to purchase it, but he'd also hinted at something bigger. Liam replayed Elon's words in his mind. "Your perspective has potential far beyond this one painting." What did that mean? He couldn't shake the feeling that his life was on the verge of changing, though the specifics remained tantalizingly unclear. A week later, his phone buzzed with an email from Tesla's headquarters. Elon had requested a follow-up meeting, this time at SpaceX. The message was brief and to the point. "Bring your ideas. Let's talk about the future." When Liam arrived at SpaceX's futuristic campus, the scale of the place left him awestruck. It was a world brimming with ambition, and he felt small by comparison. He was escorted to a large open space lined with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a towering rocket in the distance. Elon was waiting, casually leaning against a table filled with models of spacecraft. "I'm glad you're here," Elon began, gesturing for Liam to join him. "I've been thinking about how art can complement what we do here. Space exploration isn't just about science, it's about inspiring humanity. I want you to create a series of paintings for SpaceX, something that captures the spirit of exploration, of reaching for something greater." Liam stared at him, stunned. "You want me to create a series? For SpaceX?" Elon nodded, his gaze steady. "Yes. We're planning an event to showcase the next phase of our Mars mission. I want your work to be a part of it. Art has the power to connect people to these ideas on an emotional level, and I think your perspective can help us tell that story." The enormity of the request hit Liam like a tidal wave. This wasn't just an opportunity, it was a monumental challenge. His art would be tied to one of the most ambitious projects in human history. It was exhilarating but also terrifying. I don't know if I'm ready for something like this," he admitted, his voice trembling. "You are," Elon replied firmly, "but it won't be easy. Big ideas never are." With that, the project began. Back in his apartment, Liam set up a larger workspace, turning his tiny living room into a makeshift studio. Elon had given him complete creative freedom, which was both a gift and a curse. The absence of constraints made the possibilities feel endless, but it also left Liam paralyzed by self-doubt. He sketched furiously, filling page after page with concepts, only to crumple them up and toss them aside. Days turned into weeks and the pressure mounted. Liam's savings dwindled further as he dedicated himself entirely to the project, but the weight of Elon's expectations loomed over him. Every brushstroke felt like a test he was destined to fail. He worked late into the night, driven by the fear that he wouldn't measure up. When he finally sent Elon his initial sketches, the response was brief and ambiguous. "Interesting. Keep going." The lack of detailed feedback gnawed at him. Was interesting good? Did it mean he was on the right track, or was Elon just being polite? Liam's insecurities magnified with each passing day. He began second-guessing every decision, his self-doubt threatening to consume him. One evening, exhausted and disheartened, he sat staring at a half-finished canvas, his mind racing. He thought about his parents, their voices still echoing in his head, warning him that art was an uncertain path. For the first time in years, he considered giving up. But then he remembered Elon's words, "Big ideas never are easy." Taking a deep breath, Liam picked up his brush and began painting again, determined to see the project through no matter the cost. The days began to blur as Liam threw himself into his work. The pressure of creating something worthy of Elon's vision consumed him, and his insecurities grew with every passing moment. His tiny apartment, transformed into a chaotic studio, was filled with half-finished canvases and discarded sketches. The ticking clock of the project's deadline loomed like a shadow, its presence gnawing at him. No matter how hard he worked, he felt as though his ideas weren't enough. Too abstract, too small for the monumental task of capturing humanity's dreams of space exploration. Compounding the stress was the persistent tension with his family. His parents, still skeptical of his career, had called after hearing about his involvement with SpaceX. Their cautious optimism was veiled with doubt. "That's great, Liam," his mother had said over the phone, her voice hesitant. "But are you sure this isn't just a one-time thing? Have you thought about what happens after?" The question lingered, needling him as he worked late into the night. What if they were right? What if this was his one shot, and he wasn't good enough to deliver? Then came the crisis that nearly broke him. One afternoon, a SpaceX executive visited to review Liam's progress. As the man walked through the studio, his sharp eyes scanned the paintings in silence. He stopped in front of one of Liam's latest pieces, a sprawling depiction of a rocket soaring toward a fractured galaxy, the cosmos swirling with chaotic energy. Liam watched nervously, his heart pounding. The executive tilted his head, his lips pressing into a thin line. "It's interesting," he said finally, the same word Elon had used. But then he added, "It feels unfocused. The message gets lost in the details. SpaceX isn't about chaos, it's about purpose, precision. This doesn't reflect that." Liam felt the air leave the room. The executive's words echoed in his mind long after he left, seeding a doubt so deep it threatened to derail the entire project. He stared at the criticized painting, questioning every decision he had made. Was he truly capable of capturing something as grand and transformative as humanity's journey to the stars? For days, Liam spiraled. He avoided the studio, unable to face the mounting pressure. His brushes sat untouched, his canvases gathering dust. The silence in his apartment was deafening, broken only by the hum of his thoughts telling him to quit before he embarrassed himself further. Then, unexpectedly, his phone buzzed. It was a message from Elon. "Heard about the visit. Let's talk." Reluctantly, Liam found himself at SpaceX headquarters the next day, seated across from Elon in a quiet conference room. Elon studied him for a moment before speaking. "You seem like you're ready to walk away," he said bluntly. Liam swallowed hard, his shoulders slumping. "I don't know if I can do this," he admitted. "I'm trying, but it feels like I'm failing at every step." Elon leaned forward, his expression softening. "Do you know how many rockets failed before we had a successful launch? Dozens. And each failure felt like the end of the world. But you know what I learned? Failing doesn't mean you're incapable. It means you're learning." Liam blinked, surprised by the candidness of Elon's words. "But what if my work isn't good enough? What if I can't capture what you're asking for?" Elon smiled faintly. "The fact that you care so much about getting it right is why I believe you can. Art isn't about perfection. It's about emotion, about connection. That's why I chose you." Something shifted in Liam. For the first time in weeks, he felt a spark of hope. Elon's words reminded him why he had started this journey in the first place. Not to prove himself, but to share his vision with the world. Returning to his studio that night, Liam picked up his brush with renewed determination. He wasn't painting to meet someone else's expectations. He was painting to tell a story only he could tell. The strokes came easier now, his emotions pouring onto the canvas as he created pieces that reflected not just the grandeur of space, but the human spirit behind it. Months of relentless effort culminated in the moment Liam had both dreamed of and feared. He stood backstage at a private SpaceX event, his heart pounding as the energy of the crowd buzzed just beyond the curtain. The room was filled with some of the most influential figures in technology, science, and art, all gathered for the unveiling of SpaceX's next Mars mission. But tonight wasn't just about rockets or engineering feats. It was also about Liam's paintings. He glanced at his completed series, now carefully arranged under the precise lighting that SpaceX engineers had set up to mimic the ethereal glow of outer space. Each piece told a story: humanity's unyielding curiosity, the beauty of celestial exploration, and the fragile yet unbreakable thread connecting Earth to the cosmos. The centerpiece, titled Voyage Beyond, depicted an astronaut extending a hand toward a swirling galaxy, embodying the hope and ambition that defined the human spirit. The sound of Elon's voice over the speakers pulled Liam from his thoughts. "Ladies and gentlemen," Elon began, his tone calm yet commanding, "tonight, we celebrate not just technology, but the vision and creativity that drive us to reach for the stars. Space exploration isn't just a technical challenge, it's a story. And stories are best told through art." The crowd erupted into applause as Elon continued. "Over the past months, I've had the privilege of working with someone whose art captures the essence of what SpaceX stands for. Liam's work reminds us why we explore, not just to expand our reach, but to deepen our understanding of who we are." Liam's breath caught as Elon gestured toward the curtain. "It's time to share that vision with all of you." The curtain rose, revealing the series of paintings bathed in soft, otherworldly light. A collective gasp swept through the audience, followed by silence so profound it felt tangible. Liam stepped onto the stage hesitantly, his palms damp as he scanned the sea of faces. For a terrifying moment, he thought no one would react. But then, the applause began, soft at first, then building into a thunderous standing ovation. He blinked, stunned by the response. People were on their feet, clapping and cheering as they took in the artwork. Executives, scientists, and visionaries alike stared at his paintings with awe, their reactions validating months of self-doubt and struggle. Liam felt a lump rise in his throat, his emotions threatening to spill over. Elon approached him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "This is just the beginning," he said, his voice low enough for only Liam to hear. "You've done something incredible here." As the applause continued, Elon addressed the crowd again. "Liam's work will travel with us as part of our Mars mission, a reminder that our journey is not just technological, but deeply human. His art will inspire every person who dreams of touching the stars." The weight of Elon's words hit Liam fully. His paintings wouldn't just be seen by those in this room. They would be part of history, traveling beyond Earth to represent humanity's aspirations. As the event wound down, Liam wandered through the crowd, receiving congratulations from strangers who spoke of how his work had moved them. He felt something he hadn't in years, a sense of purpose, of belonging. For the first time, he realized his art wasn't just for him. It was a way to connect with others, to share a piece of himself with the world. Before the evening ended, Elon found him again, a familiar spark of intensity in his eyes. "We need to talk about what's next," he said, his words charged with promise. "I have an idea for something even bigger." Liam felt a thrill of excitement tempered by nervous anticipation. He had barely adjusted to the enormity of this opportunity, and now Elon was hinting at another. "Bigger?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Elon smiled. "You'll see. Let's just say this is only the first step." Liam stood there, the noise of the crowd fading into the background as the possibilities unfolded in his mind. The journey he thought had reached its peak was in fact just beginning. After the buzz of the unveiling event began to fade, Elon found Liam in a quiet corner of the SpaceX headquarters. The energy of the evening still hung in the air, but Elon's demeanor was calm, as if his mind was already on the next step. He gestured for Liam to join him in a nearby meeting room. The casual atmosphere from earlier shifted into something more deliberate, more serious. Liam followed, still reeling from the overwhelming praise his work had received. Once inside, Elon closed the door and sat across from him, his gaze steady and intense. "I want to talk to you about what's next," he said, his tone leaving no room for doubt that this wasn't just small talk. Liam's heart skipped a beat. Next? He echoed, unsure what Elon could mean. Hadn't the unveiling been the culmination of this surreal experience? What more could someone like Elon Musk possibly want from him? Elon leaned forward, resting his hands on the table. Your work, your perspective, it's exactly what we need to inspire people. And not just here on Earth. He paused for a moment, letting the weight of his words sink in. I want you to create the first art installation to be sent to Mars. The room seemed to tilt. Liam stared at him, convinced he hadn't heard correctly. Mars? He repeated, his voice barely above a whisper. Yes, Elon said simply, as though he were asking for a coffee order instead of proposing one of the most ambitious projects Liam had ever heard. We're preparing for the next stage of the Mars mission, and this time, I want to send more than just technology. I want to send a message, something that represents humanity's spirit, our creativity, and our dreams. Art can do that in a way nothing else can. Liam's mind raced, excitement colliding with fear. The scope of the project was staggering. This wasn't just painting for a gallery or even contributing to an event. It was creating something that would literally leave the planet. The weight of such a responsibility pressed down on him, and his insecurities bubbled to the surface. I don't know if I can do that, Liam admitted, his voice trembling. It's Mars. I'm just a guy painting in a tiny apartment. How am I supposed to create something worthy of that? Elon regarded him with a measured expression, his voice steady but firm. Liam, every great idea starts with someone who doubts they're capable. Do you think the first time I dreamed of reusable rockets, I didn't hear every voice telling me it was impossible? But I pushed forward because I believed in the vision. Liam swallowed hard, the intensity of Elon's words resonating with him. But this is different. What if I let you down? You won't, Elon replied without hesitation. Because this isn't about perfection. It's about connection. Your art has that power. That's why I chose you. The room fell silent as Liam grappled with the enormity of the offer. His fear and self-doubt clashed with the small but growing sense of possibility. Slowly, he nodded. I'll do it, he said, his voice still uncertain but gaining strength. I don't know how yet, but I'll try. Elon smiled, a rare look of satisfaction crossing his face. Good. We have a lot to figure out, and the timeline will be tight. But I have no doubt you'll deliver. In the weeks that followed, Liam's life transformed into a whirlwind of brainstorming sessions, technical briefings, and late nights in the studio. Every decision, from the materials to the design, had to account for the harsh conditions of space travel and the Martian environment. The stakes were higher than anything he'd faced before. But as the project took shape, so did Liam's confidence. The challenge was immense, but so was the opportunity. For the first time, Liam began to see himself not as just an artist, but as a contributor to something far greater, a piece of humanity's first steps toward the stars. The pressure was intense, but the vision was clear. Create something that could transcend the limits of Earth and speak to the boundless potential of the human spirit. The studio buzzed with a quiet intensity as Liam stood back to assess his finished piece. Months of late nights, meticulous planning, and countless revisions had led to this moment. The art installation, a combination of sculpture and painting, was unlike anything he'd ever created before. It was a tribute to humanity's innate curiosity and resilience, embodied through abstract forms that seemed to reach toward the stars. Metallic textures shimmered under the light, while vibrant colors danced across its surface, giving the impression of motion, of perpetual ascent. For a moment, Liam allowed himself to breathe. The journey had been grueling, filled with doubts and setbacks, but as he gazed at the completed work, a sense of pride swelled in his chest. He had done it. He had created something that felt worthy of the mission ahead. The team of engineers who had helped him ensure the piece could withstand the rigors of space travel stood nearby, quietly admiring the installation. Elon arrived shortly after, his expression unreadable as he approached. He walked around the piece, studying it from every angle, his hands clasped behind his back. The room was silent, everyone holding their breath. Finally, he turned to Liam, a small smile breaking through his otherwise serious demeanor. It's perfect, Elon said simply. Liam exhaled, his shoulders sagging with relief. "Thank you," he managed, his voice thick with emotion. Elon's approval was just the beginning. The installation was carefully transported to the SpaceX launch site, where it was secured aboard the next Mars-bound rocket. The launch itself was a monumental event, broadcast live to millions around the world. Liam watched from the SpaceX control center, his heart pounding as the countdown began. The roar of the engines filled the room as the rocket lifted off, carrying not just technology, but a piece of human creativity into the cosmos. The live broadcast featured close-ups of Liam's work as it was installed within the payload, the shimmering colors and intricate details capturing the imagination of viewers across the globe. Social media erupted with discussions about the project, with hashtags like #ArtInSpace and #HumanCircuitry trending within hours. People marveled at the story of an unknown artist whose work had risen to such extraordinary heights, symbolizing humanity's collective aspirations. For Liam, the global reaction was overwhelming. Messages poured in from strangers who had been inspired by his story, students, aspiring artists, and even seasoned professionals who saw his journey as a testament to perseverance. News outlets highlighted his rise from obscurity, framing it as a modern-day fairy tale. The struggling artist who dared to dream big and found himself making history. But it wasn't just public recognition that changed Liam. The experience transformed his view of himself and his place in the world. For years he had struggled with self-doubt, questioning whether his work mattered. Now he saw his art as more than personal expression. It was a way to connect with others, to spark conversations about what it meant to be human. In the weeks following the launch, Liam found himself in demand like never before. Galleries that had once dismissed his work were now eager to feature him, and commissions poured in from organizations inspired by his collaboration with SpaceX. Yet amidst the newfound attention, Liam remained grounded. He knew that his journey wasn't just about fame or success. It was about staying true to the passion that had driven him from the beginning. One evening, as he sat in his now organized studio, Liam reflected on how far he had come. The memory of standing in the gallery months ago, nervous and uncertain, felt like a lifetime away. The launch had been a triumph, but the real transformation had been within him. For the first time, Liam believed in himself, not as an artist struggling to find his place, but as someone who had something meaningful to offer the world. In the months that followed the Mars-bound launch of Liam's artwork, the ripple effects of the project continued to grow. News outlets covered the story from every angle, focusing not just on the technical achievement of SpaceX's mission, but on the deeply human element that Liam's installation brought to the endeavor. It became a symbol of hope, a reminder that art and science could work together to inspire humanity to dream bigger. Elon Musk, in a rare interview, reflected on the journey. Sitting in front of a backdrop of SpaceX's accomplishments, he spoke candidly about why he had chosen to involve Liam in the mission. "Space exploration isn't just about getting from point A to point B," he explained. "It's about the why. Why do we explore? Why do we push boundaries? It's because we're human, and part of being human is creating, connecting, and imagining a better future. Art captures that spirit. Liam's work reminded us of what we're really reaching for, not just the stars, but the meaning behind them." The interview resonated deeply with viewers. Elon's words highlighted the importance of seeing beyond equations in engineering, embracing the emotional and philosophical elements that drive progress. For Liam, watching Elon publicly validate the role of art in shaping the future felt surreal. It was a moment of profound gratitude, not just for the opportunities he had been given, but for the belief that someone like Elon had placed in him. Meanwhile, Liam's life had taken on a new rhythm. Once a struggling artist in a tiny apartment, he was now a sought-after creative voice. Galleries clamored to feature his work, and organizations worldwide reached out for collaborations. Yet Liam remained grounded, mindful of the struggles that had shaped him. Instead of simply enjoying his newfound success, he decided to use his platform to give back. Through workshops, speaking engagements, and social media, Liam began mentoring young artists, especially those who lacked resources or confidence. He shared his story openly, the failures, the doubts, and the turning points, hoping to inspire others to persevere. "If I could tell my younger self one thing," Liam often said, "it's that you don't have to be perfect to be worthy. Your voice matters, even if it takes time for the world to hear it. One evening, Liam found himself at a small gathering hosted by Elon. It was an informal event, bringing together creatives and innovators from various fields. As Liam sipped his drink, he noticed Elon walking toward him, a faint smile on his face. "How's life treating you these days?" Elon asked, his tone warm but curious. Liam laughed softly. "Busy, but in the best way. Sometimes it feels like a dream I haven't woken up from." Elon nodded, his gaze thoughtful. "You earned it. The way you put yourself into your work, it's exactly what we needed. And I'm glad to see you're using this moment to help others." The two shared a quiet moment of understanding. For all their differences, Elon with his towering ambitions and Liam with his emotional depth, they had found common ground in their belief that progress was as much about people as it was about goals. As the night wore on, Liam walked outside, looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, his art was floating toward Mars, carrying with it a piece of humanity's soul. He thought about the small decisions that had led to this moment: the spilled coffee, the nervous introduction, and Elon's decision to take a chance on him. It was a testament to how even the smallest gestures could spark something extraordinary. Liam smiled to himself, his heart full of gratitude and hope. He realized that while his journey had taken him to unimaginable heights, it wasn't over. It had only just begun. This story is a powerful reminder of how a single act of kindness can change a life and inspire the world. What small gesture can you make today that might spark greatness in someone else? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspiring stories that show the incredible potential of humanity.